When the HOA bully pulled a gun on Sarah, he thought he'd won. He didn't know she was Delta Force, trained, tough and ready. Now Carl's about to learn. Mess with her family and you'll face a fight you can't win. Revenge is coming and it's unstoppable. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching. The neighborhood looked calm and fancy with neat lawns and big houses. But under the quiet, trouble brewed. The Homeowners Association HOA ruled like kings, making silly rules and scaring everyone. They watched every move and people whispered about their mean ways. Sarah Raven Mitchell, 30, was the hero of this story. She was a Delta Force soldier, tough as nails, trained to fight and think fast. Her job was secret, dangerous and far from home. Now, on a rare break, she visited her parents. Sarah loved her family fiercely and would do anything to keep them safe. John Mitchell, her dad, told the story. He was a retired mechanic, a man who hated unfairness. His voice mixed pride for Sarah with anger at what happened. He saw it all and wanted the world to know. The villain was Carl Baxter, a bully who called himself head of the HOA's security team. He wasn't a real cop but acted like one, bossing people around. Carl loved power and used it to make neighbors feel small. Everyone feared his loud voice and cold stare. Emily Mitchell, Sarah's mom, was kind but strong. She was sick of the HOA's nonsense and spoke her mind. Other neighbors were in the mix too. Some followed Carl because they were scared, while others hated him but stayed quiet. One morning trouble started. Sarah was jogging enjoying the fresh air. Carl and his fake police stopped her. They said she broke some dumb rule like acting suspicious. Sarah stayed cool but Carl got mad. He pulled a gun, pointing it right at her. He didn't know she could take him down in seconds. John saw it from the porch, his heart racing. He wanted to rush in but Emily held him back, whispering, "Let Sarah handle it." The air felt heavy like a storm was coming. Carl thought he was in charge but he'd picked the wrong fight. Sarah wasn't just a jogger, she was a warrior. John's anger burned, but he knew his daughter was special. Soon Carl would learn he'd messed with the wrong woman. Sarah stayed cool when Carl pointed his gun. Her Delta Force training kicked in. With a quick move, she twisted his arm, took the gun and handed it back empty. Carl's face turned red. He was embarrassed but not hurt. Sarah stared him down and said, "Leave us alone." He backed off but his pride was crushed. In his mind he swore he'd make her pay. Carl didn't stop. He lied to the HOA board, calling Sarah a dangerous outsider. He scared some neighbors into agreeing with him. Soon the HOA sent fines to the Mitchell's house, saying their garden was too wild or their car was parked wrong. It was nonsense but it kept coming. Carl's team got worse. They slashed the family's tires one night and left notes saying, "Get out." John was furious but Sarah stayed focused. Using her skills, Sarah started digging into Carl's life. She moved like a shadow, checking records and listening to whispers. She found out Carl was stealing. He made up fake rules, fined people and kept the money for himself. His security team was no better, just a bunch of rough guys he hired, some with police records. Sarah knew she had to stop them. At home, things were tense. John wanted to punch Carl but Sarah stopped him. "Trust me, Dad," she said. "I'll fix this." Emily spoke up, telling Sarah how Carl had bullied others before. He'd scared a single mom so bad she left the neighborhood. That hit Sarah hard. She wasn't just fighting for her family now, it was for everyone. One night, Sarah got too close while spying on Carl's team. They spotted her and chased her through the dark streets. But Sarah was too fast, too smart. She slipped into alleys, climbed fences and vanished. Carl's men were left panting, scared and jumpy, thinking she was a ghost. The neighborhood felt like it was holding its breath. Carl kept pushing, thinking he was winning. But Sarah was building a plan step by step. She was calm, sharp and ready. Carl's lies and tricks were falling apart, and he didn't even know it yet. Sarah knew Carl had to go down. Using her Delta Force training, she built a smart trap. She stayed sharp, thinking like a soldier. First, she collected proof of Carl's crimes. She hacked into bank records showing he stole HOA money. She recorded his threats on her phone and got neighbors to share stories of his bullying. Every piece was like a weapon ready to fire. Sarah didn't stop there. She found a few brave neighbors, people tired of Carl's nonsense. In secret, she taught them simple self-defense moves like how to block a punch or stand strong. "You're not alone," she told them. They nodded, ready to fight back. Sarah's plan was coming together and she felt the fire inside her grow. The big moment came at the HOA meeting. Carl thought he'd win. He brought his team, all tough-looking with hidden weapons, ready to scare Sarah. He stood up, smirking, and called her a liar in front of everyone. But Sarah was ready. She walked to the front, calm as ever, and turned on a projector. Up came Carl's bank records, his voice threatening people and neighbors' stories. The room gasped, his lies were exposed. Carl's face went pale, then red with rage. He lunged at Sarah, yelling. Big mistake. In seconds she dodged, twisted his arm, and took his gun. His team rushed her, but Sarah was faster. With quick punches and flips, she knocked them down, barely breaking a sweat. Her Delta Force moves were like a dance. Smooth, strong, unstoppable. The neighbors watched, stunned. Then, inspired, they stood up. The one Sarah trained blocked Carl's cronies, shouting, "No more!" The room turned against Carl. He was done. Right then, police sirens wailed outside. Sarah had tipped them off earlier. Cops stormed in, handcuffing Carl and his team for stealing, attacking, and using illegal guns. Carl's power was gone, broken by Sarah's fists and truth. The neighbors cheered, free at last. Sarah stood tall, her eyes fierce but kind. She'd won not just for her family but for everyone. Carl was finished, and the neighborhood would never forget the woman who brought him down. After Carl's defeat, the neighborhood changed fast. The HOA was shut down. No more silly rules or scary patrols. Instead, the residents formed a new council, one that listened to everyone. They met in backyards, sharing ideas to make things fair. People smiled again, feeling safe in their own homes. Neighbors came to the Mitchells' house, heads low. "We're sorry," they said. "We should have fought Carl sooner." They shook Sarah's hand, eyes wide with respect. She didn't brag, she just nodded, glad they were free. Sarah's strength had woken them up, and they'd never forget it. Carl faced his day in court. Sarah's evidence, bank records, threats, and neighbor testimonies piled high. The judge didn't blink. Carl got a long sentence for stealing, bullying, and using guns. His team ran off, too scared to stick around. They were no trouble anymore, just bad memories fading away. At home, things got quiet. John sat with Sarah on the porch, his voice soft as he spoke. "I didn't know how strong you were," he said, eyes shining with pride. "I thought I had to protect you, but you protected us all." He chuckled, remembering how he'd wanted to punch Carl himself. Sarah smiled, tough but warm, and leaned on his shoulder. Then Sarah opened up, something rare for her. "I fight for people like you and Mom," she said. "Folks who can't always push back. It's why I do what I do." Her voice cracked just a bit, and John squeezed her hand. Emily watched from the doorway, proud but teary, knowing Sarah's heart was as big as her courage. Emily had her own idea to heal things. She planned a big neighborhood barbecue. Tables lined the street, filled with burgers, pies, and lemonade. Kids ran around laughing. Neighbors swapped stories, no longer afraid. Emily raised a glass, toasting to new beginnings. Sarah stood back, watching the joy she'd helped create. For once, she wasn't a soldier, just a daughter, happy to see her home at peace. The air felt light, like a storm had passed. The Mitchells were closer than ever, and the neighborhood was whole again. Sarah's fight had left a mark, one that promised better. Sarah's time at home was short. One morning her phone buzzed, a call from her Delta Force unit. A new mission waited, somewhere far and dangerous. She packed her bag, her face calm but ready. At the doorstep, she hugged her parents tight. "I'll be back soon," she promised. Emily kissed her cheek, whispering, "Stay safe." John stood tall, his heart full. As Sarah walked to her truck, he spoke softly, like telling a story. "She's a hero," he said. "Not just out there in the world but right here in our little neighborhood." Sarah climbed into her truck, her military gear tossed in the back seat. She gave a small wave, then drove off. John watched her go, proud as ever. She'd faced down a bully, saved their home, and left everyone stronger. To him, she wasn't just a soldier, she was their protector, a light in tough times. Days later, a new neighbor moved in across the street. John noticed him one morning, measuring his lawn with a tape, muttering about perfect grass. He looked fussy, maybe a bit like Carl with his picky ways. John leaned on his porch, sipping coffee, and chuckled. "Good luck, buddy," he said to himself. Sarah's fight had changed things. Her courage stuck with the neighborhood like a shield. No one would dare bully them again, not with her legacy alive. The sun dipped low, painting the sky orange. Far away, Sarah's truck rolled down a highway. Her gear rattled softly, ready for whatever came next. She glanced at the horizon, eyes sharp, mind set on the mission. Back home, John's voice carried on, steady and sure. "They didn't know who they messed with," he said, a smile in his words. "And they'll never forget." The neighborhood slept easy that night, free and strong. Sarah was gone for now, but her mark stayed, on her family, on the streets she'd fought for. She'd be back, and until then her story lived in every brave step the neighbors took. Out there she'd face new battles, but here she'd already won.